Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with Friends. As a reminder, before we begin, the guests on our live streams reflect a diverse set of values, morals, and ethics that may not reflect the values, morals, and ethics of the Misfit Amish. Coffee with Friends may also discuss trauma of all sorts to include all types of abuse. Viewers and listeners may find it unsettling and triggering and uncomfortable. If this live stream causes you distress in any way, please cease listening until you're able to listen again. You may also seek support from your trusted folks and qualified mental health professionals as needed. With that being said, welcome to the show. Good morning, afternoon, whatever time it is. Hi.
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 How are y'all doing today?
Pretty good.
Good.
Yeah? So, would you like to begin by telling me a little bit about each of you and why you're here today?
Yes. So I'm Love'Asia. That is my biological name. My adopted Mennonite name was Brenda. A lot of people know me by that name still, and I still answer to that, but I prefer to be called by my biological name. Um, I guess why I'm here. I was born in, first of all, I was born in York, Pennsylvania, and I was adopted into British Columbia, Canada, right from birth. Um, but that was quite a ride of my life for 23 years. And why I'm here today, I'm not here to sit and bash nobody and in a negative way. You can Anybody can have different views of what they want to believe and whatever, but there is an awareness that I would like to bring out in this setting today.
And what is that awareness you would like to bring out?
That there is a problem with, I feel, um, especially biracials get adopted. They don't have a voice. I didn't have a voice for the whole 23 years of my life. Um, Went through a lot of emotional and mental trauma from that. And the other awareness is that there's a lot of sexual um, negative things happening in that community, and nobody is talking out. And I want to be the first from my community to talk out.
So, when something isn't talked about, you can't address it. And what I'm hearing from you is you want to establish the fact that sometimes there's sexual violence that occurs within these communities and you want it to be addressed. And
Yes.
especially when it comes to a biracial perspective and children who are adopted into these communities.
Yes.
Thank you so much for trusting me to have this conversation. It really means a lot. And what about you, Shelli? Why are you here today?
Well, I am here. I'm here to raise awareness too. Like I went through sexual abuse and being adopted into the Mennonites as a Black person, racism, and I just want to raise awareness too that it doesn't. I don't know how you say like. I mean, if I could, I would put a stop to it now. But since I can't do that, then I just want to raise awareness to the people that are out there.
So you were not adopted into the same kind of Mennonites as Love'Asia.
No.
Okay.
No.
Do you feel like specifying which kind of Mennonites?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
I was raised nationwide conservative Mennonite.
Oh. Oh.
And when they say, and when that commercial comes on that says nationwide is on your side, in this case, it isn't.
Honestly, every time I see that commercial, I think about the survivors I know from nationwide fellowship churches. So I guess I'm not the only one. What about you, Shelli?
I was fellowship. I don't know if there's another name for it, like, but that's what I grew up as, is fellowship Mennonite.
And for people who don't know, there are various types of fellowship Mennonite
Oh
churches
man.
that
They
may
would,
not.
I would put you as the Tennessee. You'd almost be like the Tennessee churches, right?
Yeah, we would have been, yeah, more. Like the Tennessee churches.
But they're not the same in necessarily their doctrine, theology, and practice. They may vary in some of the ways they implement some of the beliefs than
Yeah.
the plain way of life, right? If I
Yeah.
understand that correctly.
Yeah.
And this was in different states too, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So like let's start from like how long ago did you leave the church? And were you baptized into the church? Were either of you baptized in the church?
Yes, I was.
I wasn't.
Oh, what was it like being baptized in the church?
So, a big thing that I am going to say is that when your child turns 14, um, yes, it is. You can say teenager, whatever, three-nager, whatever you want to call it. It is still your child. So don't force religion. It's religion down their throats. Your child will know when the time is right. So when I turned 16, it was, oh my goodness, Arlen Bear's child is still not a Christian, or his two girls are still not a Christian. What's going on? And that was Arlen and Janet Bear were my parents. And he's very like famous preacher, famous in quotation marks. Um, And when 16 rolled around, I felt very pressured to become a Christian. Didn't even feel nothing. But it was, what if you go around the corner tonight too fast and you're killed? You hit a tree and you're killed suddenly. It was like that kind of fear. Always, here's this bench full of girls and not one of them has a covering on yet. What's going on? So that was the fear tactic. And that I couldn't stand it. Hearing those voices in my head every night before I would go to bed, coming home from church, and it would linger over and over and over again in my head. This person said, what if I hit something and I die? And that just kept going. So finally I stood up. Then they made me pray a prayer. Made me pray a prayer, their prayer. And I was told what to say. And then as time went on, when we had to take the little, I probably still have it somewhere. Somewhere I probably still have it. The book that you have to take when you become a Christian, in order to become a member, and get baptized. They made me take that, and partway through I was peeking over the bench in church, and I was put back from taking part of those classes for 3 months.
Oh, sorry. What?
Yes.
For three,
Yeah.
put back in classes for 3 months?
Yeah, for peeking over the bench. And one of the ministers caught me. So how did that work?
I mean, but what was it like? I'm sorry. What was this? You were in trouble because you were peeking over the bench.
Yes, in church.
And then you were made to take additional classes.
No, I was put back from the classes. I could not go forward with everybody else.
Oh my God. Okay. So, with that being said, do you know how you ended up in this Mennonite home, anyways? Like,
Yes. So part of it was um they had specified they wanted biracial children. And me and my sister, we still talk. And she said, girl, she said, you know what? We wasn't even supposed to be in that home. I said, what? She was like, no. The first set of children that they was going to get was twins, but their mom was in a car accident and all three of them was killed. And then we were the next two that was in line to be adopted. Yes. And so they took us. Yeah. She said we wasn't even supposed to be in that home. I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay. So my mom, and she is, me and her have talked through this and we are on good terms. My parents, my siblings, we're on very good terms. I see them very often. She admits that she was not in the right frame of mind to take care of me financially, emotionally, and it was best for her to give me to somebody that could do that. Um, but she did not know. She said, I just want to ask you something. I said, yes. She said, were you touched, molested at age 9? And I said, yes, I was. She said, oh, well, she started to cry and break down. She said, I just wanted to let you know that every time that happened, my heart was hurting. I didn't know where you were. I couldn't find you. They did send letters and pictures of me up until a certain age. They never called me by my name in the letters. They just said baby girl or whatever, but they never used my name ever. And everything was photocopied by the time that it got to my mom's house, because it was a closed supposedly adoption, so no contact, zero. So my adoption papers, which I found in the filing cabinet that was usually locked, that wasn't locked one day, I found my adoption papers, and this was when I was 16 years old. I only knew I was adopted when I was 16 years old. Up until then, I couldn't figure out why I was being bullied in school, why I was being abused in school, in the home, why my hair was different, why I looked different, why I just couldn't get
and
attention.
and didn't you mention earlier you had an adoptive name too?
Yes.
Like your birth name was also taken from you.
Yeah.
So, and I mentioned this earlier. I have this whole article by Dr. Jeanette Harder about inviting Plain Mennonite and Amish families to foster children. May I read an excerpt about biracial it's titled Race to
Yes.
you? And
Yes.
for watchers, if you're watching this on video, there will be I'm going to share the screen so you can see exactly what I'm reading. This article specifically says many families had fostered or adopted children who were Black, Latinx, or biracial. They were quick to speak words of affirmation for these children and shared stories of how they or members of their communities had been allies for these children. Okay, I'm not reading here, but I just feel like that might be some of that saviorism coming through. Going back to reading, they also shared some experiences of community members expressing concern about bringing children of other races into their communities. Families spoke of being very open to fostering children of races different from their own, but wondered aloud whether it was best for these children to be adopted into their predominantly white communities. And a quote from somebody who participated in what Dr. Jeanette Harder calls research: the boys were biracial, we had said we don't want biracial simply because if we would end up adopting them, I mean, this is such a white community, and we just didn't want to have that to deal with. Not that we think any less of Black people or biracials, but just for the child's sake to be able to blend in better. A mother. Do you have thoughts?
What kind of mother is that? And what is this a Mennonite mother?
It's the kind of mother that makes me feel like vomiting and reading the quote.
Well, didn't we sing in school Jesus loves the little children of the world, and he said all those colors? Where did she come from? Or did she not sing that song?
Okay, but are you aware that in PA German, there's actually an N word that is PA German specific?
I think I seen that on was there a debate or was there a something over that?
I've made content about it because I have
Yeah.
documentation
Yeah.
from like the 1800s that
Hmm.
proves that it does exist.
Well,
It
you know
is
what
used as a slur. And so, like, to me, this is simply a furthering of that inherent negative bias towards non-white people.
hmm Well, you know what I grew up saying? You know those black licorice babies? My dad said, "Yeah, you know what? We call these nigger babies." I was like, "Excuse me for saying that whole word, but," and I didn't know that that was a bad word, and I was saying it about my own race. I didn't know it was bad. I did not know, and when I said it to my mom, she said, "Hold up, wait a minute. That's the kind of stuff you get shot over. You don't that. Mm-mm."
Yeah. So as children, how are you supposed to function when you don't fit in? You don't feel like you belong. Your hair's different. You're being bullied and abused. You're on the fringes of existing in this plain community. So how and then you're being taught to be that way about like part of where like this is part of you. Like you're taught this is part of like how do you navigate that?
How do you navigate it?
I mean, sadly, I think you really like you just become used to it. Like,
I don't think I did. I get used to it. I don't know. I was always crying for attention, for love. Like, I don't ever remember hearing my mom and dad tell me one time, "I love you. We love you." I never, and that's all I craved. So whenever I acted out a certain type of way, that was because I was just crying for something, like just something to be.
You it's the thing. Have you ever heard of Dr. Ross Green? He wrote
No.
this whole book called The Explosive Child. As a parent myself, and having spent most of my life feeling like I'm a misfit and I don't belong anywhere, I can't relate to it from race at all. But one of the things that Dr. Ross Green talks about is children do well when they can. And when they're provided tools to do well, they do well. But when you provide children with suboptimal environments, and in this case, they took your name, they took your culture, they took your identity, like your sense of who you are. So
Hmm.
how are you supposed to thrive in that? And isn't it just natural to seek out attention in the ways you can accomplish attention?
Yeah.
And then you feel like a bad person because now you're a child and you're being told all these things. And then the baptism thing happened. So what made you like exit the church?
So it was a whole bunch of, if you do this and if you wear this, it was, you couldn't even be happy serving the Lord in those churches. If you wanted to, you couldn't. It was miserable. I felt terrible for the girls that married the guys in the church coming in from the Eastern churches, some Midwest, a couple maybe. Then there was from the conference, there's some Ontario churches in Canada there. um there's a name, I can't remember what it is, but my mom and grandma were from there. um I felt bad for them coming in, because as soon as they married, it was like, you got to change. You can't wear this and this, and you got to have this by this certain time. We're giving you 9 months or 6 months proving time, whatever. Always. Like, I felt bad for them. And that's what made me exit, because there was no happiness. They targeted you, your clothing. They didn't care. It was like I was dressing for somebody to make him happy. And it wasn't him, their God. It wasn't. It was the bishop. As long as, and his wife was blind, so everybody else would stare at everybody else, their stockings, their nylons, their cape belt, their collars, if their zipper was all the way up, how the ruffles on their sleeves, the hem at the bottom, can't be too far down, by the ankle. It was just too much. There was no happiness. No happiness.
You're like describing this, and I'm all just like, oh yeah, and how long your dress is, or is your dress material opaque enough? And the photo you sent me, it shows like this pattern fabric. So was the pattern the right size of pattern? Like, I have questions.
We normally took a quarter with us wherever we went. If we shopped without our moms, we had to take a quarter. Me and my sister would always take a quarter with us, just to be sure that it wasn't going to be a problem. Because, yes,
Did you have belts on these wonderful, beautiful, godly, and holy cape dresses?
Yes, always. Yes.
How wide was the belt allowed to be? And how was the belt made? Were you allowed to put any interfacing in it, or was it supposed to be attached to the dress? Did it have to be separate from the dress?
Was that belt was hard
to the dress? Like,
it was hard. It was miserable. And when you would try to stick a pin in, that pin would just right in there. Oh, every time.
So y'all use straight pins on the dresses.
Yep.
But you mentioned zippers earlier. So who got to use zippers?
Everybody did. We all did. We could use zippers, but it couldn't be I couldn't wear this and put a white zipper in. No, you had to match it. Like, it has to be a dark zipper.
Okay, yes, but what was the purpose of putting straight pins in the dress if you had zippers?
No, the belt.
Oh, the belt had to have straight pins.
Yes.
You know what?
And then the pins had to be at the back where the zipper was, lined up. Yes, they couldn't be at the side. No, the pins had to be to show that
straight pins are the epitome of godly holiness in the fellowship church you were in.
Or all safety pins, whatever was.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But then somebody started with the pins that had the, colored heads on.
We used those.
Oh, we got away with that. First we didn't, but then we did. Then we got away with it.
Mm-hmm. So that was the part where you're like, this is all arbitrary BS, and left.
Yep. And you know what I did? I had my bags packed for, oh my goodness, maybe 3 months, and I didn't tell us. So I just brought my dresses and I just put them over in my closet over the suitcases so nobody could see. And I hid them like that. But I had everything packed and I was ready to zip.
You were like, deuces.
Yep.
Peace out. Bye.
One-way ticket.
Mm-hmm. I'm taking a one-way ticket straight to hell. I'm sorry. But that's what it feels like sometimes when you're like leaving a group like that. It can really feel like you're taking a one-way ticket to hell. So essentially, you experience a lot of violence within the church, but also microaggressions and abuse and bullying. that like eventually made you get baptized into the church, but then there were these arbitrary rules that were applied to you. When you started thinking about it, you're like, okay, bye.
Yep.
And what year did you leave?
2017.
So you've been out for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
How's that feeling?
It feels good. Because, listen, I'm gonna just say this. Let me back up. So, because I was just seeking, attention and love, and I was doing it all in the wrong ways. So, what did they do? They put me to counselors, and these counselors were the all men. There was never a woman counselor in
Okay.
any.
Can I ask a question?
Hmm.
What education did they have that qualified them to be providing you with counseling? Where did they go
They
to school? What was their highest level of education?
ooh, eighth, and I think maybe some high school.
Okay. So, what training did they have to provide counseling for you?
Right. Hmm.
How effective was that counseling?
It was so bad because I was going through what I was going through with my situation with their son. And one of the counselors said, have you tried the S word? And I looked at him and I was like,
He, I'm sorry. He said what?
he said, have you tried the S word? I don't want to say the SEX. And I was 12. And I was 12 years old. And I looked over at my mom and I said, are you not going to say anything?
Yep, I
And
can
sh-
see. I
and
can
she
see
said,
where
oh,
they.
we don't do that before. We don't believe in doing that stuff before marriage. But it would help with her moods. 12 years old. And you're taking me to this man?
Hold up. He was prescribing.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. He was prescribing. Sounds like you were dealing with things and it was slightly depressive, which is a normal human response. So, in essence, what he was doing is prescribing sex as a cure for depression to a 12-year-old child.
And I stormed out of that room so fast. I slammed that car door and I screamed and screamed and screamed.
Well, of course. Like, what? Mm. This is what you get when you get unqualified people doing things they're not qualified to do. Like, I mean, there's different ways that you can acquire knowledge, but in this manner, that statement says everything about that counselor. Your response is you were in distress. That is like, I would think that if any of us on this live stream were in that situation, or anybody that's listening to this were in that situation as a 12-year-old child, like, we would have a visceral response. It might vary, but it would be very visceral. That is so that that's fucked up. There are no words for that. What do you think, Shelli? You've been awfully quiet. You got thoughts?
I don't know. I'm just listening. No, I've often wondered, like, her talking about, like, her going to someone, that should have been, like, prescribing stuff and not trying to encourage sex. Like, I've often wondered, like, how do I say it? Like, how many of the doctors that the Mennonites go to are like that?
That's a good question. And why do they think that's okay to say to a child? Like that's outrageous. That's
And I told her when she got in that passenger, like she came over to the passenger's door because I wouldn't unlock it, and she looked at me and I said, I hope you don't ever bring me back, because if you do, I'm calling the police. I mean, that was my only option. I didn't know what else to do.
Does Canada have police?
Yes, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
yeah.
How are they?
They don't.
Do they have jails?
Yes, they do.
Or is it more like prison?
No, they have jails.
I just thought Canada doesn't really have.
No, they do. They don't mess
Yeah.
around. Mm-mm. And they're the type. They're the type. It don't matter how long ago it was. You're gonna go in. Somebody comes forward, you're gonna still go in.
Yeah.
No age.
They don't play these games, is what I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter if somebody came from the Plain community, they would still yeah. I don't know. I think that sometimes the things that people experience can be so harmful and detrimental to your well-being, because now you're in distress already because you're experiencing all of this abuse and this violence and this sense of disconnect and not belonging here. And to top it all off, now you got this as a solution rather than connecting you. For example, like even the any licensed clinical social worker or licensed professional counselor or LMFT or a psychotherapist or a psychologist, like they would have been able to provide better intervention than that, I would like to think, because
Yeah.
typically they at least have some form of, like, they have some information to allow them to provide better interventions and tools for managing what you're experiencing than that. At least if they took their training seriously.
Another thing that helped me to decide to leave was the fact that when I became a Christian and it was time to get baptized,
Mm-hmm.
none of my family came up and welcomed me into the church like the other lady that was being baptized with me. Her family all came, hugged her. My family walked out the back door.
So, have you ever heard me describe the hierarchy of the Amish churches that I'm familiar with? So, if you think about it as a ladder of privilege, if you will, and up here, like, I don't know who has the most privilege in Mennonite communities, but in Amish communities, it's like your bishops, your ministry, people who come from a good family. And then, of course, you have like the middle class people, and then you have the lower class people, people who are poor, orphaned, widowed, people who live with disabilities, and the very lowest of the low, people who are adopted or joined in. And then to top it all off, it's the people who are adopted or joined in that are not white. They are the lowest of the low. And what you're describing there is some of the impacts that I've heard from other folks that happens to people like you that get adopted into these Plain communities, which also makes me wonder why we would then, why would Dr. Jeanette Harder write this article that says inviting Plain and Amish foster families, Amish families to foster children? Like, if you, and another excerpt from this article, she says, despite their knowledge of discipline guidelines, some participants disclosed limited use of corporal punishment with foster children. Participants viewed physical discipline not as an emotional reaction to a particular situation, but rather as a thoughtful and last resort to addressing problematic behaviors in a way that they considered was best for the child. I see that, Shelli. Just say it. Just say it. Do we have thoughts about that?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I don't have my thoughts together yet.
They don't have to be together.
No.
Your thoughts matter, and we're asking you and inviting you to share those thoughts because
Mm-hmm.
they do matter. And because she's talking about people like you that are currently today being fostered by plain communities.
I mean, it makes me angry. I mean, I'm thinking about all the corporal punishment I went through. I mean, help. Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, the spankings I got. And it didn't help. Like, it just made me like, the more I got spanked, the more angry I got.
Well, I think that's valid. And it's so messed up because how do you like you're where are you supposed to exist? Where are you safe? Where are you
Right.
safe in an environment like that? What about you, Love'Asia?
I'll tell you this little story. My aunt said that, she said, "You want to know how it was really like?" I said, "Yeah, I do." She said, "We would come out and visit, and your father would come down the steps, beat red in the face. And that was because he just got done spanking probably me, but he was so angry." And she
The,
said the spankings, the hits went on and on and on and on. And she said, me and my husband would look at each other and we would be like, and my uncle said there was times where we wondered if you ever were going to leave, if you're ever going to get out, because we could see the pain in your eyes. And he would say things just to embarrass me in front of everybody. But I remember every whack, every beating.
so
I
and
remember.
you were adopted, so like there was no oversight at all.
Nope. I remember the beatings would go on so bad that I would literally pass out and come to, and my hands were still back there shielding my back end from receiving the blows. But because I wasn't done crying and making noise, they kept on going.
So you were a child who was used as a punching bag, as an
Mhm.
outlet. And
Mhm.
when she says physical discipline is not an emotional reaction, but a thoughtful, that's like completely rewriting the narrative about what actually transpires for many people.
Yes. So yes, I recall times where um I didn't know if I was going to see another day. And I think the tipping point was, you always, like, I'm always get the last lick. every time. I'm that type of, I am, because back when I still was Mennonite, I would ask questions. Oh, you need to do this. And I would be like, where in the Bible does it say that? Like, I don't
Well,
see anywhere where
first,
Jesus said, now, you know what? I want her right there to sit down and she needs to do this. Nope, I don't see that.
she needs to put them straight pins in her belt on her dress to cover up the zipper.
Black socks. Go put, I was in
Yeah.
barn boots, barefoot. And this man want to say, I think you need to go into that house before I get out of this truck and come help you into that house and put some black socks on. How do you know I don't have socks on? How close are you looking at my body that you can see? I do have a slip on, by the way, but how close are you looking at my body that you suddenly notice that somehow I don't have socks on in my barn boots that come up to my almost my knees?
Yeah. Appearance control is really a way that people put exponential amounts of labor on you. And somehow, when they create, a lot of times, appearance control also comes with arbitrary, like moving goalpost. When they have these goalposts that you think, if I can just reach this part, and then you reach that part, and it's never quite enough. So it's like you're running on a treadmill and never making progress towards the goal. And the acceptance and belonging and love and compassion, like that was something you were trying to accomplish even as a child. But you were on this journey that involved all of these restrictions that you couldn't quite get to. So how do you get there? How do you get through that? And how do you make a life after all of that?
Ooh, that's deep. There's a lot of guilt. Like, I had so much guilt when I left because I had a niece and nephew that loved me so much. Like, I was their favorite auntie. And I would be like, did I do the wrong thing? Did I do the wrong thing? Like, should I go back? Because, I can just hear their voices in my head. Their laughter, me taking them on the four-wheeler, me, taking them on the horse, everything. And I'm just like, did I do the wrong thing? But then in the back of my mind, I hear this man say, no, I'm not going to forgive you. No, I'm not going to do this. No, I'm not going to do that. And then I remember the phrase, that was the worst. Hold on. That was the worst way that I ever spent my money on somebody. 50 some $1,000s that he ever spent on somebody was adopting me. And that was validation that proved to me that's why I never felt loved. I never did. I never belonged there. I was only there as I felt like a slave, doing, like, carrying two, like, hay bales, one in each hand, as a small girl. Like, yeah, I know that's what you do on a farm, sure. But really,
When he said that.
y'all can use the four-wheeler to go feed them, but I can't. I'm made to go walk.
So when he said that, was he really said the quiet part out loud? I
Yeah.
bought you and paid for you.
Yeah.
And that was the worst investment
Yep.
I ever made.
Yes.
That's what he would say.
Yes. Don't ever, and he would have said, his words would have been, don't ever adopt. It's not worth it, because look how she turned out.
Well, first off, I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
First off, I'm really fucking proud of you. It takes a lot of guts to like talk about these issues and you made it very clear in the beginning, this is not to bash anybody, but this is talking about your life experiences. And some of those experiences were really harmful. And you wanted to raise awareness. And you get to do that because your voice also matters.
One thing I'm going to say is don't adopt biracial people, children, babies, not people, but don't adopt babies, newborns, if you're going to go and talk about how much you paid for them, okay? Or my thing is this, if you're going to treat them different from your other kids.
Okay. May I read another excerpt from the lovely Dr. Jeanette Herder's research article, her academic article? Placing babies and young children rather than school-aged children into plain Anabaptist homes will ease the culture shock for children in the foster homes alike.
That is laughable.
Okay. What about the fact that she goes on to say plain Anabaptist foster homes typically offer two parents, and usually at least one parent provides 24/7 care for foster children without the need to place children in childcare. This provides continuity and care for children and saves funds for child welfare systems.
Okay.
It's always about money, isn't it, Shelli?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my. Mm.
Oh, well, it gets even better. Then she says plain Anabaptist foster homes may be especially suited for children with special needs.
Mm-mm.
Oh, now we're simple.
Well, you know,
Yes,
this is
hey, I knew something was wrong with you.
okay. So number one, she is coming from a perspective. She has a bias towards plain Anabaptist that is very positive. Number two, she aligns herself with people in positions of power, such as like Alan Hoover, founder of conservative crisis interventions committees, you know, the CCIs. Yes, she co-wrote a book with him called For the Sake of a Child, wherein she recommends like all these plain facilities that are unqualified to be providing the services that they provide. She is also given educational sessions to various places in dominant culture where she recommends those interventions, the plain facilities. She's legitimizing the systemic oppression of plain people. And this article about inviting plain and Amish families to foster children is also giving an air of legitimacy to, despite people reporting that they're violating the rules of foster care by hitting their children. Let's be so for real. When she talks about corporal punishment, she's talking about hitting your children. She's glossing over that. She's presenting this idea of like, oh, they're optimal for children with disabilities. Okay, well, I can't speak for the Mennonite perspective, but you know, I'm autistic. I have cousins who are autistic. My two brothers that passed away lived with disabilities. They had grand mal seizures and for different reasons, but the way they were treated, no, it is not optimal care for people with a disability. And matter of fact, one of my brothers whom I write about in my book, I call him Moses. There's a reason for that, but I digress. When I escaped in 2004, I escaped in February of 2004. And by December of 2004, we buried him because he drowned in the bathtub from having a grand mal seizure. But okay, tell me more about the optimal care. Oh, and we have a comment from Maria Moore.
Yes, we do.
My worst foster experience was in a Mennonite home where at age 8 I cooked for the family, cleaned, and memorized many religious verses. I had to pay for my bad Mennonite parents with physical labor and church shaming. The church women would gossip about my sister and I and my parents to let us know we were not good children.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. Yes, isn't that true? And she was only foster. She wasn't even adopted. That is terrible. That is terrible.
You know, I was fostered as an Amish kid.
I did not know that. For how long?
A couple months. I acquired 3 new perpetrators of rape, child rape. I was told to earn my keep. I was fucking 9 years old. I wasn't even allowed to eat the same food as the people that were fostering me. When I packed lunches for school, I had to like pack different lunches for their children than what I packed for my brother and I. Delightful times. Optimal environments, my friends.
Yes, what she says. What she says about
So how do we combat this? Because part of what she says is true, but the way that she minimizes the actual experiences of the cultural impact is so harmful because she rewrites the narrative about the impact.
Can you bring that white cord up on the table? Please, thank you.
Yeah. So how do we combat that? Because I personally think part of it is by having the conversations that we're having here today, right here, right now.
But my thing is this: is that are they going to admit to it? Because why are they acting so surprised when their kids go to leave? Oh, it's just such a dreadful thing, and we got to cry and got to pray for them Wednesday nights for prayer meeting and everything. No, you made them leave. You just set them up for the grand, finale. That's what you did. Yep. But now you want to be, let's pray for sister so and so. She left. Yes, she did leave the faith. Yeah, because you know what, your faith doesn't exist. No,
And
no,
you know
not
what?
like that. No, because I'm not going to go and make some man happy in order to be in your church. I'm not doing that. I'm serving. I'm supposed to be serving some God, but obviously I'm serving some man because I'm only making him happy, but it's not making me happy. So we're just gonna exit.
That godly submission came right up and slapped you in the face, did it?
Oh, it did.
You know, I really appreciate your dialogue because it's so impactful to me. We have another comment from Sarah. Sarah says, "I'm so sorry, y'all. The beatings were horrendous, dear Lord." Because she know, and that last name, she come from the Amish too. She has to somewhere. But that's when you talk about you were serving some man and the godly submission, and then you escaped. So we're about to wrap this up. But what have you been doing in the years, the 8 years since you escaped? And if you had any message for somebody who is being fostered or has been adopted by communities like yours, what would you say to them?
Hold on, she went to get her charger.
Okay. Well, what would you say to them, Shelli?
Well, I mean, I would say like having a good I mean, I know it's not always possible, but like at least have one or two friends that support you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, that brought me a long way since I left home. And I don't know, like, I'm just like, just be proud of yourself that you were strong and brave enough to get out.
And you deserve people that support you.
Yes.
You deserve people that support you, even if you don't feel like you do.
Right.
It is not your fault that you were beaten. If you experience like the kind of beatings that we were talking about, like that is not your fault.
Right.
Because
Yeah. It's hard to get out. Believe me, it's really hard.
yeah, it takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of internal fortitude to get out, but it also takes a lot of internal fortitude to have this conversation about foster and adoption in these communities.
She had a question for you.
Okay, what was the question?
I said, if anybody had any kind of like if anybody had been experiencing any kind of thing like the things we discussed. Oh, this is fun.
We're going for a ride here.
It's called technological impairments. Okay. um but anyways, I said if anybody was experiencing these things, especially as a foster or an adoptee child, or had experienced these things and maybe was an adult now, what would you say to them?
If I would meet them,
Yeah, what would you say to them?
oh, I'm so fucking proud of them. Like that they escaped. Like, cause it takes so much. Like when you leave the pit in your stomach, like there's a lot of fears, the unknown, what ifs. But listen, I'm fucking proud of you, and it don't matter what you do, where you are in life, um, what religion you want to go to. If you want to be on the opposite side of the spectrum, I support you 100%. I do, and I have friends from every angle of life. And you know what? We get along fine. We do. And I'm glad. If they only knew the extent of where their daughter is today and how happy she is. But it don't matter because you know what? They obviously don't want much of a relationship with me. I haven't heard from them in months. It's probably going on, at least 7 to 8 months now.
Okay, but I have to ask a question because I'm really this kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
I have many Mennonites that tell me we don't shun people like the Amish. What is that you just described?
They don't shun, okay? They don't use the word shun, but we feel it. We feel it. Why else do we want to just rip off that covering, rip off that dress, and we go extinct from that? Why else?
Mm-hmm. So what I'm hearing from you is they just don't call it shunning, but they shun people.
Oh, they do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they do. Absolutely. Everybody looks at you with two different eye colors. I'll say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So when Mennonites tell me they don't shun people, what should I say? Because I've been asking them, well, how do you define shunning?
And why do they even use that word? Like they act like they know what shunning is. Were they ever raised Amish? No, then don't talk on that.
Yeah, thank you. Kind of like, I don't know what it's like to be biracial or non-white inside of an Amish community. I'm not going to talk from that perspective. But hey, I know wonderful people that were raised as biracial or non-white people inside of these communities, and I listen to them to hear about their life experiences, especially people who already create public content about it, or people who ask me to listen to their experiences, because that is what I need to do. I need to sit down sometimes and shut the fuck up, because it's not my place to speak about your life like that. With that being said, another thing I wanted to point out is, Love'Asia, like you talk about the connections with people from many different walks and ways of life.
Yep.
And I would say that one of the best things I've ever encountered is having so many beautiful connections with so many people that come from various backgrounds, various ways of life. They have unique perspectives on their life experiences, so that they've shared with me. And it's given me a much more well rounded view of the world. But it's also allowed me to feel like I'm less of maybe a little less of a misfit in the world, and where I might actually belong somewhere.
You know what? I could care less if you gay, lesbian, if you black, white, brown. I don't care. I don't care. And if you want to be an, you know, a good religious person, not whatever, atheist, non-atheist, whatever you want to be, honey, you be. I'm not going to judge you, but
Yeah,
I'm going to welcome you. I'm going to
but
welcome
that's
you with open arms.
but that's the acceptance portion that is far too often missing. We know that we come from different cultures. We accept that. And when you talk about multicultural life experiences, and you understand those experiences, you can build better connections with people. And
Yep.
you don't tend to approach people with the same energy that people approach people when we're coming in with our look. The way we were talking, I could be construed as angry and bitter, and that can be seen as aggressive. Okay. In my aggressive voice, I'm going to read this comment. Thanks for your voices. We all need to be loud and talk about the culture and how much courage it takes to leave the life and find your way. You are brave, and I admire you. Well, we admire you. I admire you, Maria.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay. Do you have final thoughts and words about this experience?
Oh, listen. Um, I'm just gonna say it don't matter. Like they'll come for me. I don't really care because I found where I belong finally. Y'all didn't give it to me. Y'all just stuffed me dry. You took the one thing that I should have had. My innocence. That was number one. Didn't give me nothing in return of any love, any hope of existence in life. Didn't give me a second chance, even. So now I'm giving people in my life second chances. Because you know what? It feels so good to do that.
Because you get to make that decision.
Yep.
You get to choose what kind of person you are today. Oh, and even when you pray, you're not praying according to the bishop. Okay, that's the best part. I'm
You know
sorry.
what? I'll never put nothing on again. Because you know why? That thing never saved me. It don't save
Good for
you.
you. Good for
It don't
you.
save you, and it does not keep you from going to town and not getting shot. Okay? It don't. If it's your time to go, it's your time to go. It's not because you're wearing that on your head. No.
Well, and I just want to point out that wearing that cop, that okay, we were godlier than you. We were coppa, not like doilies on our heads.
No, we
Okay.
had to wear we had to wear cap coverings too, but I'm
They
just
were not
saying.
the right kind of cap coverings.
No,
They
they
just look
weren't.
like a little thing. We don't even know why y'all wear coverings anymore. It just looks like we don't know what's going on there.
Just
We
take
would
the thing
never
off.
judge, but we'll pray for you unsolicited.
I don't think. Why are you wearing your hair down and put that little black thing on your head anymore, huh? What's it doing for you?
I'm just saying that covering y'all wore, it was so small. It doesn't even cover your ears. And you know the ears is the most sexual part of your head.
That's
Okay,
exactly right. It's yep.
I'm done now. I'm going to read this comment. Thank you, Bunny. Bunny says, thank you all so much for sharing your stories with us. Much love from another cult survivor. Thank you, Bunny.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for listening and hearing. One of my favorite parts about hosting this podcast is legitimately because I get to have the privilege of connecting. I've been hosting it since like 2020. I made the first episode, but I get to have the experience of connecting with so many people from so many different backgrounds and record those conversations. It is an incredible experience, and it allows people to share information that maybe they're not necessarily being shared, that is not being shared on mainstream media or public platforms the way that it is shared here. And I'm really grateful to all of our listeners, all of our Patreon subscribers. The Misfit Amish is a nonprofit 501c3, and our Patreon subscribers support this project financially. It's amazing to have that financial support. So thank you to all of our Patreon subscribers and all of our donors. Thank you to our wonderful guests. I'm so glad we got to do this. Thank you for sharing your perspectives.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
I'm honored to be able to hear about your life experiences. Not that it's not heartbreaking, it is. But you know, I'm so incredibly proud of you. And as always, you can like, comment, share, and remember, this is produced by the Misfit Amish. Art used in this production is by BJK and MB. And until next time, live your best lives. You are good enough.